For a while, you have been asking me for a longer form. And today I've read a post on LinkedIn, which I really, really want to talk about, especially if you're a leader or a female in leadership. That definitely could be resonating with you. So I want you to listen up. There's this theory that when you have problems, you should never talk about it. You just suck it up, buttercup, and you just go and move forward. And that is all great and dandy until you end up with me. See, what happens is when we pretend problems don't exist and we fall into this mode of, yay, everything is great, my life is fantastic, and we try to reframe everything into something positive, we end up with a lot of frustration, challenges, and stress and anger that is unresolved. So the old model, especially created in the old times for, the development, the companies that were created, in the 80s, 70s, 60s, where there was infrastructure being built and everything was mass production, solving problems, KPIs, having everything set was a great model and it works in a lot of spaces. But we as humanity have evolved, and the leadership models that we have now are falling short. They're falling short because they're created through a lens and perspective of I gotta be tough, I gotta be hard, I can do it all, I don't need anybody's help. We're gonna talk only about solutions. We're not gonna stop and talk about what's not working because we're being negative Nancy's or we're complaining too much. Then, yes, as it is true that if you keep complaining over and over, you're not going anywhere. It is also true that you must acknowledge how you're feeling and that things literally suck. One of the leaders that I've worked with, he was a man in this case, and he truly believed that he had to be on at all times, on, and he's got it. So people would come to him assuming that he's always the person who has a solution, and he felt responsible after time that he's the person who always has a solution. Well, it was an epiphany to him that he learned that he's a human and he does not always have a solution and that he does get angry internally and he didn't know what to do with it because there was a vision and perspective of people looking at him, having an image that it was serving him for a while as a go-to person. At the same time, it was eating him from the inside. So, one of the things in leadership that we learn, and we have now found in multiple studies in neuroscience and in psychology and psychiatry, studies not based in America, but all over the world. So, everywhere you go, the same studies have the same results. Vulnerability and authenticity are valued much higher than your solving skills. Why is that? Because we are able to connect, and humans are about connection. If you see somebody struggling and not falling necessarily apart or having a bad day, acknowledging a bad day, first of all, your brain engages mirror neurons and your brain goes, ooh, I can feel their pain. That automatically switches your brain saying, I don't want to feel the pain. How can I help them so I don't feel their pain? We start coming out with solutions. That's one. Number two, we see them as a human. And humans are much easier to connect with than people who are always perfect and have it all together. Yes, we will admire them, we will watch them, but we don't have a connection. We're looking for people like us, but a little bit further along. And next, when we name things as they are, for example, that project didn't work out, I messed up, it sucked, it allows us to process the emotion much quicker, which then reduces stress and allows your hippocampus, allows your prefrontal cortex to come back online and come up with great solutions. So I want to offer you a suggestion because I truly believe, and science confirms it, that this macho style of management, it's always great, let's move forward, is actually harming you, your team, and your company. What if we would leave space for being human in that management style? What if we would invite vulnerability into management style? And I'm not talking about when you're in at war and you're fighting on the front. That's not the time for it. But in most companies, we're not fighting wars. There are no tigers chasing us and there's nobody shooting at us most of the time. So in those other times, inviting that vulnerability, inviting that openness, and admitting that something didn't go right. We didn't do something right, and it sucks. And we feel like crap, and allowing that to sink in. And then going into solution mode. Now, why do you need to feel it? Because you'll be more effective. You will come up with better solutions. You will connect with your team who will be able to support you in finding solutions. You will also reduce the stress level, which in the long run will make you a better leader because when we're stressed, we don't lead people very well. I'm sure you can agree with that. And on top of this, you'll become one of them, which makes you even more desirable to be a leader because people can see themselves in you and they understand. And they also will then understand that you make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, they will not judge you as harshly as if they would think you're all perfect. Now, this is not to say don't solve a problem and sit and wallow and cry about it. Maybe you sometimes need to, but that should be done at home. But acknowledge the pain, acknowledge the annoyance, acknowledge the anger, acknowledge all of it. Science shows that emotion that is not fed, meaning you're not ruminating on it, thinking over and over, lasts about 90 seconds. And think about how much more could you achieve if that stress level drops much quicker? How much more could you achieve if you have access to deeper memories, when you have the clarity of thinking and the stress does not prevent you from actually coming up with great solutions? So I'm inviting you to ditch the macho, strong, never talk about problems leadership style and introduce more human way of approaching problems, allowing people to connect with you, be able to solve problems better, quicker, and while doing this, taking care of yourself as a leader, showing people that being unsatisfied with something is absolutely a normal emotion. Because guess what? If you don't, I mean, you can, but then I have a lot of clients, which in theory, I'm doing myself a disservice giving you all that knowledge because you might not need me then. But you know what? World would be a better place. Turnover would be lower. People would stay at work longer because they want to support you, because they feel connected to you. And stuff will happen. And that's a given. You are not able to prevent all the blow ups, fires, and things that will go wrong. But being human about it is your superpower. So, as your brain coach, I'm inviting you to introduce that style of leadership, or at least try to explore it and see what result it brings.